Welcome back, listeners. This is the Witching Hour. I'm Morticia, and I'm here with.
The coolest gentleman.
And today we are going to do the perfect moida.
I was about to say, you forgot the name.
No, I didn't. I don't have it written down or anything.
Looking at your hand all sweaty.
Yep, it's all like smeared.
The perfect border?
True.
All right. So, would you like to tell them which one we have today?
Um, it's the girl in the box.
Okay. All right.
Eileen something.
Eileen?
I don't know it. That was your job. So
Colleen.
What is it?
Colleen.
Carlene? Oh,
No.
I was close.
Colleen.
Well, I was close.
Carlene? Yeah, I was close. Okay. Anyways.
You're all having a great time.
So.
Ew.
Shut up.
Ándale, apúrale.
Oh my gosh. That's what I put up with. Okay.
And I don't. Okay.
Anyways, so this is the case of Colleen Stan, who was kidnapped and kept in a box for 7 years. Imagine being in a box for 7 years.
And it's not just like a regular box.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a tiny ass box, a wooden box.
Yeah. Very, very small, just cramped up in there.
For hours.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to go ahead and read a little bit of this case here.
Okay.
And just a little bit of a warning. There is violence, sexual violence in this case. So, just a fair warning there before we start. So, this is what it says right here. Okay. Alright. Alright, so this is taken off the website off of aetv.com. They have basically a small little summary of the case here that I'm going to be reading through. When 20-year-old Colleen Stan hitchhiked out of her Eugene, Oregon hometown on May 19, 1977, she was careful about whom she took a ride from. She turned down a lift from a group of young men, understanding the small risk, but serious risk inherent to what she was doing. But Cameron and Janice Hooker seemed innocuous. They were a couple with a baby after all. So Cameron and Janice are the people who abducted her. So she ended up turning down another ride that basically is full of guys, just, to be on the safe side, and chose this one, which seemed saved. And well, we know how that goes. After pulling onto a side road under the guise of sightseeing, Cameron held Stan at knife point and brought her back to the couple's home in Red Bluff, California. There, he stripped her naked, hung her by her arms from the basement rafters, and whipped the young woman repeatedly before having sex with his wife in Stan's blindfold presence. Yikes. Can you imagine that? Just being kidnapped, being hung up, and then you're just getting whipped. And after
For
they're
no
just
reason.
done whipping you, they just have sex in front of you.
Yeah.
But you're blindfolded, so it's just like...
But you can hear them.
Yeah.
So that's like... That's... No. I couldn't.
Man. So after that, he presented her with a, quote, master-slave contract, quote, which he forced her to sign. What the hell is that?
What?
A master-slave contract? He forced her to sign it?
Yeah. Because supposedly he was like in this what's it called? Like ¿cómo se dice?
Hmm?
Like this group or something.
Like a cult? Are you trying to say cult?
Yeah, some not well, yeah, I guess like a cult, but yeah, so pretty much he like convinced her that he was like yeah, I guess like in a cult,
Hmm.
but I think once you read more about it, it'll probably say what it is.
Yeah. So, after he forced her to sign that, she was held captive for 7 years. She was locked in a small coffin like wooden box the hookers kept under their bed. Now, she would only be let out only to be raped, whipped, or forced to do chores. Those are the only times that she ever got out of the box. So, after that, Cameron Hooker told Stan that any attempts to escape would be met with violent repercussions for both her and her family. He asserted that there was an organized crime syndicate, this is what we were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
called the Company, that was watching Stan and would punish her and her family if she attempted to escape. So now we move forward a bit, and this is in March of 1981. Stan was allowed to visit her family by herself for approximately 24 hours. And then in May of 1984, she was allowed to start working as a maid at an area hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Stan was also offered opportunities to go jogging unsupervised, but all the while, she never ran away because she believed that story that they told her
Yeah,
about
about the
the
company.
company,
Yeah.
which is crazy to me. At that point, I would try, even if
Yeah,
you
no,
are
for
like a bit, like scared, at least try to get somebody to help you.
yeah, and before she went to go visit her family, he actually did a test on her to see if she was loyal or would do anything that he would say, and he pretty much gave her a shotgun and told her to put it in her mouth, and she pulled the trigger, and there was no bullets. It wasn't loaded.
Hmm.
So he was like, for a reward, he was like, okay, I guess you can go see your family.
Mm,
So that's what he did.
it's fucking psycho.
Yeah, it's
Jesus.
crazy.
Okay, so here they have a little excerpt that says Michelle Gallietta, a professor of psychology at John Jay College of Criminal Justice who has done research on violent offenders and what was it? And trauma, tells A&E True Crime that Stan's belief in the company makes sense when taken in the larger context of her kidnapping. So they said, it sounds a little unbelievable, but ask yourself, is not the fact that she's kept in a box under a bed completely wildly unbelievable? Yeah. Gallietta asks, if everything you've ever thought in terms of predictability and safety is taken away, what is left of the psyche? This is not a one time rape or a one time attack. This was pervasive for years. So basically, they're making the statement that it makes sense that she would believe that because of
Mhm.
everything that she was going through and how it was just slowly breaking her down.
Yeah.
Which it makes sense, right? Because if she's trapped under there for 7 years, day in and day out, going through that, it's definitely going to take a toll on her mentally, physically. But I don't know. Like, wouldn't somebody notice something at that point? You know,
Yeah, true.
maybe the neighbors like, oh, suddenly there's like a third person living in that place. What's going on?
Well, they used to live in a home, but they started to see one of the neighbors was being suspicious,
Mm-hmm.
so they actually moved into a mobile home. But I don't remember if it was just like by themselves and it was like far away from people.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of the reasons why not a lot of people knew about what was going on with her.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So moving on to Janice Hooker, this was her role. Stan's imprisonment might not have occurred than it had been for Janice Hooker. But Janice's role in the story of Colleen Stan's imprisonment is complicated. So, after marrying Cameron Hooker in 1975, Janice agreed to allow him to have what? To allow him to have a slave whom he could torture under the condition that he only has sex with her, Janice, for years. Janice saw Colleen as a rival, but things turned when in 1984 Cameron announced a plan to get another slave. Wow. In August of that
Yeah.
year, Hooker went to a pastor and told him everything. When the pastor advised Janice to leave the marriage, she went to the motel where Stan was working and told her that there was no company and that she could leave without repercussions. Wow.
Yeah.
So
Really
jealousy just
fucked up.
made her act out.
Yeah.
Oh man, can you imagine just being told that? Just like after years of
Yeah.
believing
All
that,
those years.
just
Yeah.
like, nope, it's fake. You can leave.
Oh God.
I would have killed her right then and there, honestly,
No, for
because
real. Yeah, I would have swung on her.
it's like, what the hell? They made you believe all that for nothing.
All that torture and being in that box for hours and days.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so moving on here. Gallietta describes Janice as absolutely a collaborator, but she stopped short of calling Janice Hooker a psychopath in her own right, saying that these are not psychological questions, they are moral questions. You don't get the impression from any data she has a lot of psychopathic traits, more that she was so locked in that she ceased to have independent thought. Hmm. So she was more of a follower, really. She didn't
Yeah.
really have her own thought or anything on the matter. She just kind of went with it.
Hmm.
So, still armed with the information Janice provided her, Stan left. But not before calling Cameron from a bus station payphone where she told him she was leaving. Hooker cried. In later court testimony, described the conversation as a hard goodbye from a woman he loved. This guy is mental.
Hmm.
A hard goodbye?
Yeah. Crazy.
What the fuck? Hell no. Let's see here. So moving on to the trial here. Janice called the police to report Cameron's crimes about 3 months later, and although she had second thoughts and helped him destroy some of the evidence, what are you doing? Why?
Yeah.
That would have helped convict him. She ultimately
Hmm.
worked as a cooperating witness against Cameron in exchange for immunity. What? So she was down to help to bury everything, and then last second she said, nah, let me go ahead and try to get immunity for myself.
Yeah.
Between Janice's testimony, Colleen's testimony, and evidence collected at the scene, notably a copy of the master slave contract, Cameron Hooker was convicted of kidnapping, using a knife in an abduction, rape, and sexual abuse on October 31st of 1985. He was sentenced to 104 years in prison on November 22nd, with Judge Clarence Knight remarking at the time that Hooker is the most dangerous psychopath I have ever dealt with, who will be a danger to women as long as he is alive. So, in that sense, wouldn't it have just made sense to put him on death row instead of just
Yeah.
giving him 104 years in prison?
No. Yeah. They should have.
I'll never get sentences like that. It makes no sense to me. Like, that's basically like, I mean, he's, sentenced for life, but it's like, should just give him the death penalty at that point. I mean, a person like that, not even a person like that, fucking a monster like that walking around.
Yeah.
So, Cameron Hooker today. Hooker is currently serving his sentence at the California Substance Abuse Treatment Facility and State Prison in Corcoran. In 2014, he was denied parole for 15 more years. However, Because COVID 19 had inspired new releases from prison, there's a chance Hooker could come up for parole again in
Oh,
2021.
wow.
Yeah, it's something that the local sheriff's association opposes. Yeah, definitely
Wow.
keep him in there. Or, do what we said, death penalty.
Mhm. Yep.
Over says sex offenders who are Hooker's age, 66, at time of publication, don't tend to reoffend nearly as much as those who are younger, partly due to diminished physical strength. I mean, I guess so, but still, keep him in there. I don't care how old he is.
Yeah.
But regarding Hooker's underlying psychopathy, Gallietta says extreme cases like his rarely disappear with time. It's one thing to rehabilitate a one time violent robber, it's another to make a sadist like Hooker better. Given the lack of remorse necessary to engage in Hooker's behavior and the kind of pathology that creates the appetite for it, Gallietta says that we certainly do not have any good track record in the world of psychology to modify that. So, we do have a little update here. This is in March of 2022. Cameron Hooker's Cameron Hooker's probable cause hearing was pushed to April 18th of 2022. According to the Tehama County District Attorney's Office, after that hearing, a judge will decide if there will be a trial to determine if Hooker should be labeled as a sexually violent predator. If he is found guilty at that trial, Hooker would remain behind bars and receive mental health treatment. If found not guilty, Hooker could be released on parole. And this is coming up. This is on the 18th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh man, so you're telling me this man who kept this poor girl in a box for 7 years, whipped her, raped her,
Torture her.
tortured her, did a whole bunch of shit, is getting a chance to get on parole this year? Jeez, you guys should have given him the
Speechless.
death penalty a long time ago.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh man. But Jesus. For 7 years, this poor girl. And just to get all of that broken, and it's like, oh no, it's not real. You can actually just walk off.
Yeah. I
Hell no.
yeah. I'm like speechless.
And she probably thought of like all those times that she could have just
Yes,
ran
like they
away.
gave yeah,
Yeah.
but she was just too scared.
That's
Yeah, there was a time where they had her in the box cuz her box was under their bed and what's his wife's name?
uh Cameron, was it Cameron? No, it was Janice.
Janice. Oh, Janice was pregnant. She got pregnant and she actually had her baby on their bed where she was underneath the box. So she heard everything.
Christ.
And I just can't imagine because like that box is so little. It's made out of wood. Like she had to uh she was like cramped in there.
Mm-hmm.
It was like for hours like and I believe that she was also like completely naked and she was like chained too so she wouldn't escape either. And just like imagine being on the same position for like hours.
Yep.
Like fuck that. No, yeah. Yeah, they would chain her. She had a chain around her neck and it would be connected to the toilet so
God.
she wouldn't escape. So, yeah.
Poor girl, man.
Just cuz he wanted a slave.
Yeah, like what the hell? And then he was talking
Yeah.
about getting another slave?
Another one before they kidnapped her, there was another person
Mm-hmm.
who they wanted to slave to, but she actually like fought back, and so that made Cameron mad, and he actually like strangled her to death. and they buried her body and like in a forest or something.
Yeah. Jeez.
I forgot the girl's name, but yeah, they did that.
But yeah, no, I'll leave a link to the website here if you guys want to take a look and read the story for yourself. There is also a movie that we are gonna go ahead and watch and review.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the similarities between like the actual case and the movie, and see if like maybe did they exaggerate something in the movie? You know, did they get something wrong?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll definitely do a movie review on that. Oof. But this one definitely was pretty heavy. I wouldn't say as, I don't know, like as heavy as the one before. The
The
first one that we did,
Junko one.
yeah, the first one we did, that one was
Yeah, that one's
awful, and the
just like,
poor girl didn't even like get to live. Like,
yeah. At least she actually lived,
yeah,
but Junko didn't.
no, sadly, rest in peace.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll definitely continue with this series. If you have any recommendations for different cases, you know, maybe some that we haven't heard about, definitely leave that in the comments below or shoot us a message on our socials.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.